She always believed that some messages arrive right on time, and some arrive when the heart is no longer able to hold them. This story starts on an evening soaked in silence, the kind of silence that makes every memory louder, every regret sharper. And he knew, deep inside, that this silence was his own doing. Her name was Emily. The girl who laughed like she didn't know what sadness meant, who walked like every street knew her footsteps, who cared so loudly for others that no one noticed the quiet things she carried inside her. She was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, their little preferences, their mood on a rainy day. But she was also the kind of person who everyone assumed would always be there, always waiting, always smiling. Especially him. His name was Daniel. And if you had asked him years earlier what he thought of her, he would have shrugged and said, "She's just a friend. Nothing more. Nothing less." Because sometimes the truth is so big and so close that you're the last one to see it. They grew up on the same street, went to the same schools, shared the same secrets, and carried the same dreams. She used to say, "We're like parallel lines, running next to each other, never crossing." He used to laugh and reply, "We'll cross someday. I promise." But life doesn't wait for people who speak in some days. And neither did she. It wasn't that he didn't care. It wasn't that he didn't feel something. It was simply that he believed she would always be there, because she always had been. She listened to every story he told. Every heartbreak he survived. Every failure he confessed. Every hope he shared. And he, unknowingly, gave her pieces of himself, pieces she cherished more deeply than he ever realized. But there's something dangerous about loving someone quietly. It teaches you to hide your pain. It teaches you to wait. And sometimes, it teaches you to walk away. He still remembers the shift, the slow, steady change in her voice, the way her laughter softened, the way her eyes seemed tired even when she smiled. He didn't ask. He didn't notice. Or maybe, he didn't want to. One day, she stopped sending long messages. She started replying with shorter sentences, fewer emojis, fewer words. She started giving less of herself because she had given so much already. But he kept talking like nothing had changed. He kept assuming she would always respond. He kept leaning on her support. And she kept breaking quietly. Until one evening, the last evening they spoke normally, she said something simple. "Dan, can I tell you something?" He remembers that moment now with a heaviness that he can't escape. He was tired that night. Distracted. Wrapped up in his own problems. He didn't look up from his phone. He didn't hear the weight in her voice. He simply replied, "Can it wait? I'm kinda busy." She hesitated for a long time. And then she said the words he never forgot. "Yeah. Sure. It can wait." But it didn't. And she didn't. That night, she wrote him a message, a long one. A message she never got to send. A message he never got to read. Not then. Not until much later, when everything had already changed. The next morning he woke up to a phone that felt strangely quiet. No good morning text. No random meme. No "did you eat?" He brushed it off. She must be busy, he thought. But busy turned into hours. Hours turned into a day. A day turned into 3. And on the 4th day, he received a call, not from her, but from her mother. Her voice trembled. Her words were slow. And somewhere between the pauses and the breaths, he heard the sentence that made his legs go weak. "Emily passed away last night." The world didn't feel real anymore. He couldn't speak. He couldn't cry. He couldn't breathe. He only whispered, "No, no, she can't. She was just here." But death doesn't wait for people who think they have time. She had been fighting an illness, one she never told him about. One she hid behind a smile. One she carried alone because she didn't want to burden him. He didn't know she had written letters to people she cared about. He didn't know she had made recordings of her favorite memories. He didn't know she had written one last message meant for him. A message she never got to send. At the funeral, people cried softly. But he couldn't even stand properly. He stared at the photograph of her, the same gentle eyes, the same quiet smile, and he felt something break inside him. Guilt. Regret. 1,000 unsaid words crushing him. He kept asking himself, why didn't I listen? Why didn't I ask? Why didn't I pay attention? And every time, the same answer echoed back. Because he thought she would always be there. A week later, her mother called him again. She said there were things Emily wanted certain people to have. A bracelet for her best friend. A book for her brother. A recipe card for her aunt. And then, there was a sealed envelope. With his name written in her handwriting. Daniel. He held it with shaking hands. He didn't open it immediately. He sat on a bench near her house, the same bench they used to sit on after school, the same bench where she once confessed she was scared of losing people. The same bench where he once told her she could never lose him. And there, under that dim streetlight, with the world around him silent and indifferent, he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, delicate, careful, written as though every word carried a heartbeat. He still remembers it. He remembers every line. Every pause. Every truth she had buried in silence. It began gently. Dan, you won't read this unless I'm gone. And that scares me. But it also frees me. She wrote about their memories. The way he made her laugh. The way he made her feel safe without knowing it. The way she loved listening to him talk about dreams he would eventually chase. But then the tone shifted. There's something I wanted to tell you that night, the night you said can it wait. I wasn't upset. I wasn't hurt. I was just tired. Tired of holding something so heavy alone. He swallowed hard when he read those words. She continued. I was sick, Dan. I didn't want you to worry. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. And most of all, I didn't want you to hate me for leaving you. His hands trembled. She wrote. I wanted to tell you I loved you. Not the quiet kind. Not the safe kind. The kind that stays, even when it hurts. But you were tired that night, and I didn't want the last thing you heard from me to feel like a burden. He stopped reading for a moment, the ink on the page blurring as tears filled his eyes. But the final lines. Those lines carved themselves into his memory forever. I know you didn't mean to ignore me. I know you cared in your own way. But some love stories aren't meant to be lived. They're meant to be felt, deeply, quietly, permanently. Please don't blame yourself. I was loved. And that was enough. Be happy. For both of us. He read the letter again and again. And with every read, the weight in his chest grew heavier. The message she never got to read became the message he could never forget. Years passed. But grief isn't something you heal from, it's something you learn to carry. And he carried her, in the silences, in the pauses, in the moments when life felt too loud. Every birthday, he visited the bench. Every first snowfall, he whispered her name. Every time he wanted to share good news, he looked at the sky for a little too long. He moved cities. He grew older. He met new people. But a part of him stayed 19, sitting on that bench, holding that letter. Some people come into your life like miracles. And some leave like lessons. She was both. Sometimes he wonders what she would have said if he had listened that night. If he had asked. If he had cared louder. But life isn't built on what ifs. It's built on what remains. And what remained was a letter. Her handwriting. Her truth. Her quiet love. The message she never got to read. Became the message that changed him. Forever. Because losing her taught him something he never forgot. The people who check on you the most are often the ones who need checking on. The ones who listen the loudest often carry the heaviest silence. And the message you ignore today might be the last one you ever get.